Hi everyone, I know you've been sitting and patiently listening to whatever's been said so far. This is the last presentation for the day. And what I'm going to try to do is maybe summarize what everyone has said today and take you through a little bit of story on what next. Because most of the stuff that has happened today we've covered. We've spoken about the business case, which is excellent. And this is very heartening because for the longest time in India, we were trying to convince businesses on the social good of inclusion of diversity. So great, I think the foundation for the business case is now clear. But I'm going to take you through a little story and maybe leave you with some strategies for the year coming. In 2025, we are finishing 2024. So bear with me and I'll take you through this journey very quickly. I promise I'll finish in 10 minutes. So we'll talk about the year gone by, right? And I will go back to the presentation I made last year when I spoke about inclusion of diversity. What has happened between 2013 and 2023 is we had the POSH Act, which completed 10 years. We've had a Me Too campaign. Till last year, India was considered the most dangerous place for women to work. And we are now talking about a world where there are 177 genders. So as far as inclusion of diversity, India is still, I think, low-hanging fruit. We're still talking about women at the workplace, women in leadership positions, and so on and so forth. And our labor participation in the world actually is one of the lowest globally. If there's a ranking of 140, we're at 130. And that sort of marries where we are on GDP per capita, right? Because you can talk about India being one of the largest economies in the world today, but if we are not high ranking on GDP per capita, there is a wide space as far as inclusion of talent is concerned. Now, what has happened in 2023-24, right? I'm sorry I'm going to end on a somber note, is despite all the discussions about safety, you had the RG Kaur incident. And while it was, I think, the darkest moment in history for our country and has impacted our global brand, what it's done is one incident has created a movement. Maybe 20 years ago, this would have just slipped through the cracks, maybe been a page 10 report. But the RG Kaur protests, which are still ongoing, I think justice is still awaited, that was one. There was a very interesting HEMA committee report on the Kerala film industry that came out, speaking about rampant sexual harassment, not just against women, but against people of all genders, right? We all know that sexual harassment is not about gender, it's about power. I will not sexually harass someone with more power. I will be on my best behavior. But if I can get away with it and if I have power over you, I will misbehave. Interestingly, the knee-jerk reaction from the government of India, who we work with, was the She-Box portal was launched. It has been launched on 29th August as an alternate mechanism for women to complain about sexual harassment. It's not yet live and active. Hopefully, we'll be able to see this active by the end of this year. And we had this very interesting SEBI ESG framework where prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace was one of the 9 top core areas. So your ESG rating now can have a massive movement if you look at sexual harassment. Now, what does this mean for businesses in India, right? Because finally, for anything to become business as usual, and that's, I think, the vision of the group here, is inclusion of diversity should become business as usual. The way we look at cost efficiencies and customer satisfaction, it has to become embedded in the DNA of the way we work. So, interesting strategy for 2025, go back and check whether you have this. These actually don't cost too much money, but they will make sure that your DIB strategy is linked to society, to economy, because businesses can no longer operate in silos. We've heard this. We've seen the demand of the new workforce. 85% of the workforce now is Gen Z millennials, and these things matter to them. Therefore, it has to matter to us. Simple business case. 2025, you have to start looking at safety beyond POSH compliance. The time to just do tick box compliance, and we're in the middle of, companies reaching out to us saying, oh, we need that report to go out in Jan, so can you please train our IC, can you please train our employees? That, according to me, is not going to work, because if people are not safe in your organization, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, psychological, there is no inclusion. And I'm saying this again, if I don't feel safe in your presence, I will definitely not participate in any of your inclusion initiatives. And Anubhuti, I don't know if she's here, thank you so much for setting context and talking about how belonging for you was made possible because you were in a company which is as old as India itself, but I think stepped up with time, and we all know where the Tata Group has landed, right? Needless to say, I think I've covered this, is safety would be paramount in your 2025 DNI agenda. You also have a very tough set of amendments coming up to the POSH Act. They've been delayed because we've had the government formation and didn't come back with as much power as it was expected. But there are amendments and regulations coming to tighten POSH compliance. So start looking at workplace safety as your step to inclusion. You cannot build the building unless the foundation of safety is for all genders and zero tolerant. The other interesting thing that happened between 2013 and 2023 is while the definition of man and woman changed and Section 377 was decriminalized, we now have something that has replaced the Indian Penal Code. This is called the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Section 377 now no longer appears in the Indian Penal Code. What does this mean? That till July this year, unnatural sexual intercourse or rape of men, trans, animals was covered by law. Today, this group is not protected. So we've actually rolled back in time as far as law of the land goes. Therefore, the onus on companies to create safety and create an enabling ecosystem for all the diversity that you're going to bring becomes that much more important. There's another very, very important section that's been added in the BNS, and the BNS, given what's been happening in the country, the RG Kaur incident and incidents of sexual harassment against women going up, therefore the law of the land now has protection for women and children. And unfortunately, this has come at the expense of the male population. Section 69 talks about 10 years imprisonment on sexual relations, even if they are consensual. I mean, I can go and complain. What this means is if you are in a relationship with someone and you do have sexual relations with them and on pretext of false identity or promise of employment or promotion or marriage, you can be thrown into prison. So Bombay has seen a spate of MOUs between consensual couples because people are scared. Now, in a country where we are talking about inclusion of diversity, where a large population which has power feels threatened or feels unsafe, it doesn't bode well for anybody in that particular ecosystem. The other very alarming trend is you have in the West a lot of DEI departments shutting down. And the reason being that their strategies have been focused on minority groups. Maybe the business focus has been missing, but the knee-jerk reaction was, let's set up D&I departments, let's talk about Black lives, Hispanic lives, and now those departments are shutting down because it's backfired in a bad way. Now, what can we do to make sure that the 10 years of effort that we've done in India to create a business case for inclusion of diversity does not backfire in a similar manner? Please build gender-neutral policies. In fact, there is no place for gender at the workplace. I don't think anybody hires people basis their gender. You have a JD which talks about role. What do you want from people? I don't think gender matters. So please create gender-neutral policies that marry the society's need, right? Our nuclear family setups, the fact that people are no longer having children. I mean, this great Indian economy, in 10 years, we could be headed the Japan way. So as companies, you can take the lead in making sure that the diversity of India is leveraged for good. So create gender neutral policies and tie this to our needs in the country, your people. Please offer additional support and safety to people who are now excluded by the law of the land. You can do that. There have been several case laws where a company policy that is inclusive and diverse has been applauded by the courts of law and justice has been served. Very, very urgently, I think there's a need to revamp your DIB strategy. If your strategy is focused only on certain groups, what you're going to do is you're going to start excluding the existing workforce. So inclusion is about everyone. Please make sure that your DIB strategy reflects what's happened in the last 10 years. Importantly, what has happened this year in the inclusion space. I think in some, I can see Jyoti sitting here, my colleague, and she doesn't like it when I go very candid, is the recent elections, for example, has created a lot of fear, especially for the trans community. I'm sure Anubhuti will vouch for what I'm saying. I think the last thing is, we've seen the social media boom in India. There is no doubt that India today is the #1 consumer of social media. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We've seen what Twitter has done to social sentiment. People are now content creators, right? I just need an account and I need a phone and I can decide what I feel about your brand and you, and I can post it on social media, and if I have a following or influence, that's it, right? Also, now 70% of the workforce who actually do the work, right, are millennials, and these things matter to them. So inclusion done right, actually, I don't need to now talk about the benefits of having a very strong inclusion strategy. I'm going to spend a few minutes on the EY incident, right? I come from the Big Four, and when the incident happened, we had someone who worked with the girl who passed away. And it was business as usual, right? She needed leave, we didn't even know the context of what had happened. But as this incident broke out, just like the RG Kaur case, the kind of discussion, we spoke about culture, the hidden culture, right? Which is, you see just the top of the iceberg, but the culture within an organization is actually what happens within the systems and policies that people don't see. What are the behaviors that are rewarded? What are the behaviors that are not allowed to be called out? These things are no longer closeted in India anymore. People are talking about it. People are talking about it, and it's extremely important, therefore, for your inclusion strategy. Before you start looking at inclusion of diverse communities, focus on your current workforce. Very, very important. I think we have this Atiti Devo Bhava thing in our organizations also, that we try to ignore people who are already in our organizations, working for you, toiling for you, showing you loyalty. Focus on these people first. Rolling out inclusion plans, L&D especially, the thing that gets my goat is when my organization calls me for meditation. I mean, fix my basic problems first. Get me a boss that listens. Pay me fair. Let there be pay parity. Those are some of the things that need to be focus areas for you, because you can have diversity, but you cannot build belonging if you don't look after your current workforce. So stay away from insightless learning and development, recruitment, Men's Day, Women's Day, Pride Parade. These are all going to backfire. I'm going to leave you with the last slide. I know I'm running out of time. We did this for Retailers Association of India. We did a one-day workshop where we explained to HR people that when you're building a DIB strategy, every company that sets up shop, whether in India, abroad, anywhere, their goal is that their products and services reach as many people as possible. Start there. Look at your potential, market potential, figure out where are you as far as your talent goes, then look at where the gaps are and build an inclusion and diversity strategy around simple fact, right? If you have underrepresented groups in your company, you are going to have an underrepresented business. Very, very simple. I know it sounds, a lot of people will say you can't have a P&L approach to business, but finally, if the business doesn't make money, they will not be able to spend money on inclusion or diversity. So be intelligent about your goals, align it to strategy, and focus on making inclusion of diversity a business imperative. I think the retail sector has gotten it right because we're already talking about these strategy conversations. Some of you are here, so I wanted to actually put this slide in this picture to say, we've trained one set of people in inclusion of diversity from a business standpoint so that you don't have to come Jan, go begging for budgets, and come December trying to utilize those budgets by doing token interventions. So that's all I had. Please take some time out and think about your inclusion and diversity strategy for next year. And if you want to talk to us, Jyoti and I are here. We are happy to share the report we've made on toxic workplaces and share some of our ideas with you. Thank you.